Hello everyone and welcome to the Medium Next Door, and my name is Bonnie Page. So glad that you can tune in today. Today we're going to be talking about animal communication. Are your pets visiting you from heaven? Do they go to heaven? What do they do once they get there? So I'm going to start off with a question that was asked of me. So I'm the author of Ask the Psychic Medium, God Asked, I Listened. So a lot of people write in. I have a couple of columns in the paper, and I like to share them. Some of the columns with you, the ones that I think are really interested and would help all of you. So Jake wrote in and said, I've been seeing spirit out of the corner of my eye, and I'm wondering if this is possible. So Jake had been seeing one of his dogs that have passed out the corner of his eye. He would catch glimpses, and he was just wondering, wow, is this really happening? It's while I'm fully awake, walking around, so not even sleeping, but awake. And these visits were starting to get stronger and stronger. And because Jake wasn't trained in this, it started to get stronger, but without him knowing what to do with it. So he's just writing in saying, can you tell me about more about these visions? And I can, Jake, because there's two ways of communicating with our loved ones, with our pets, and there's two ways of seeing them in heaven. One is with your eyes closed, and you go right here to your third eye center with your eyes closed. That's called seeing in your third eye. That's how spirit impresses pictures or objects, or how I can actually see a person in heaven usually is in my third eye. It kind of comes over here to the right side, and right there in the middle of the forehead is your third eye center. That's called seeing subjectively. The other way is seeing outside of the third eye with your eyes open, forms taking forms, people from heaven, being able to see them walking around. A lot of us start out seeing out the corner of your eye, and you just get a little glimpse. When I was younger, I saw spirit, all spirit, usually objectively outside of my third eye. So it's very normal to see spirit in two ways. And I'm just going to tell you a little story that I told Jake, because this is really much about seeing our beloved animals, pets. Really, I know they're like our babies sometimes, right? I know mine are like my babies. And so it's very important sometimes that we know that they're safe and they're sound and they're in heaven and what they're doing. And, you know, we want to connect with them, and they want to connect with us as well. It's kind of like going on vacation, and the first thing you want to do is call someone and say, hey, we're here, we made it, we're safe, okay, we're going to have a good time. So I started to tell Jake about the story of way back when I was 12 years old. I really wanted a puppy. I wanted a puppy so bad, and my dad finally gave in, and we came home with this little small breed, a mixed breed, like part beagle, if you can get a picture, very cute dog, and I named him Lucky. And he was my first dog. So this was my first dog at the age of 12. And I loved him, and every morning I would say goodbye to him while I was getting ready to go to school. And this one morning, I was rushing around, and the bus came, and I didn't even say goodbye to Lucky, and I ran out the door and got on the school bus. When I came home that afternoon, the first thing I did was run right to the front door so that I could see Lucky. And you know, that excitement, I still get it now with my dogs, but that excitement of being 12 and wanting to see Lucky. I went into the house and it was so quiet, and Lucky was nowhere to be found. And my dad had to break the news to me that Lucky had gotten out the front door and had been hit by a car and had passed while I was at school. And I was devastated. I went outside of the house and I walked around and I cried and I cried. And my mom, in my bedroom, I had all these toys that Lucky had, and she put them all away, and she put them in a box, and she put them in the closet that day that he passed. And so probably about 2 weeks had passed, and my parents decided they would do an errand on an afternoon. And I actually came out of my bedroom and started going down a hallway, and I paused in front of the door casing there, looking into the living room next to this fireplace was my dog Lucky, and we were probably 12 feet away, and I remember yelling to him, "Lucky!" and his tail was wagging in his little face, his little face. He was smiling, and he looked at me, and I said, "Lucky," and I went right to him, and I got so close, and I bent down, and Lucky was gone. And I was like, I was so amazed, but he looked so happy. And so I started back into my bedroom, and I walked in, and all of Lucky's newly chewed toys were outside of that box, all scattered about my bedroom. I picked them up, and you could see the little new chews in them, and I left them. I left them for my mom to see because it was so amazing. Lucky had so much energy, even from the other side, that he not only had enough energy to let me see him for such a long period of time, even walking over to him, but he had even gone back, scattered the toys, chewed them a little bit, and left physical evidence for me to see. What a beautiful story, right? That love never dies, that Lucky needed me to know he was okay, even though his passing, really took a toll on me. And I remember this story so clearly, all of my life here. And so it just started my journey, I know, as our loved ones pass over, but also our animals, because a soul is a soul, whether it's a dog, a cat, a horse, and souls go back to the other side. And so I've had dogs since that, I've grown old with, no more tragic endings, but have grown old with. And they still come back to me at night in different ways, mostly when I'm sleeping, and they will come up I have a golden retriever, Jack, and we spent 13 years together. And still when I close my eyes, he will come up, but in my third eye, and he'll put his nose on my nose. So can we communicate with animals the same way that we can our loved ones? Absolutely. And you ask, how is that? But it's all mind-to-mind communication. It's through thoughts. And that's how we talk in heaven, too. When I'm doing a reading, I don't see actually someone's mouth moving. I actually can just speak to them thought to thought communication. So souls can do that as well. And you can also communicate with your animals here in the living the same way. I have a Pomeranian now, Bella, and I can look at her, and we have our own communication going just with thoughts. And I know that if you try this with your beloved pets, that you can do the same. It's really cute. People look at you like, how does she know what you want her to do? But it's all all mind-to-mind communication. Okay, so that was my story of Lucky, and certainly made an imprint on my life, but that's called seeing objectively and not in your third eye. So how can you communicate with your loved ones or know that they're coming to visit you? And there's different ways, actually, that they do that. And I bet if I give you a few of the ways that I know that they're in contact with us, that something's going to strike a bell with you. And that's a key word, bell, too. So seeing animals in heaven, but having them come to you here. And I can tell you that when I get a rare glimpse into heaven, I have seen animals all lined up together, all different kinds of animals, no fences, in beautiful green pastures, all walking side by side. So not just our pets, but I've even had a duck that I raised, and he got hurt, and his soul went to heaven. And I saw him that night in a beautiful pond with all these vines and things all around, and he was just swimming, and he was just letting me know, I got there, you know. A duck, he meant a lot to me as well, you know. A soul is a soul. So how do your animals, how can they still communicate with you? And how can you communicate with yours? So there's some signs. I know after my cat passed, and he had lived a nice long life too, but Star, and I bet this has happened to you as well. So cats usually like to sleep with you at night, or they're always jumping up on you. I would still feel him jump up to the bottom of my bed when I was in bed at night, and I would actually go Star and say his name. So feeling the presence of your animal, like jumping up on the bed or up on the couch with you. Feeling or hearing their paws. Kind of going like this, a little scratching, or their nails on a hardwood floor. Your puppies, you know how that is. The dogs go like this and you can hear them. You might be able to hear that as well, and that's called hearing clairaudiently, so hearing with your ears. You could maybe hear the bell of a cat that used to wear a collar, you know, and the bell. You might hear the bell as they're still giving you that as a sign from heaven. Sometimes you could hear a scratching on a door if a dog was always let out and then would scratch to come in. So there's not only just seeing, but just being aware of even hearing your animal on the other side trying to give you a sign. Right? You might feel their presence as they curl up behind your back if they used to sleep with you, or on your head. Sometimes you can actually see their indent in the bed where an animal has come from heaven and is coming to see you. So, you know, just like this, and you can see a little indent. Or you get up and there's still an indent next to you. So they can actually make that happen. That's a lot of energy, but they can actually do that. They try to leave these little signs for us because they love us too, and they want us to know that they're okay. Making that physical impression on the couch, on the bed, and just feeling their presence around you. Some people tell me that they feel their little dogs running around their ankles as they're cooking. I have a cousin that had a little Chihuahua, and she said, I used to feel her around my ankles to the point where I used to go, hey, I'm going to step on you, you know, push to the side cried a little, and then she'd remember, oh, she's in heaven. But that's how strong the presence was. And so very much also that you get a flash of spirit out of the corner of your eye. That happens even seeing loved ones after they pass, because they very much, it's very fast sometimes, and it just kind of catches you, and it's in your side vision more than straight on. So sometimes just if you see a shadow or you see something coming your way, and a big way to see your loved ones and your animals in heaven is very much having a visitation at night. It happens when we're in that dream state. The veil is very thin, and actually that's when we can get a lot of messages for ourselves from our loved ones, from our guides, from our angels, and also your animals. Maybe you'll see a scene of them in heaven playing, or it'll be like you're just in the same room, and they'll share a memory with you where you're talking with them, where you're laughing with them. I know when my Great Dane Sinbad passed, that night I saw my father-in-law actually throwing, who was also in heaven, throwing a ball to my Great Dane and playing catch with him. And it was so funny because that Great Dane Sinbad didn't like a lot of people, but he liked my father-in-law. So it was so cute. And I'm like, okay, they have each other. And so if you want to connect with your loved ones or your pets, before you go to bed at night, just say a little prayer that you would really like to hear from them, that you would like to have a conversation with them, that you'd like to remember the dream. And if there's a conversation, or you can see colors and things are so clearly, just know that that is actually having a visitation, an actual visitation, and not a dream. So those are some ways that you can communicate with your loved ones or your pets, because remember, a soul is a soul, and they love you as much as you love them, and they really want to connect with you in that way. So thank you for joining me today, and if you like this video, please subscribe so you can see more videos and more tips and trainings from me. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as Medium Bonnie Page. So until next time, thanks, and see you soon.